Bill,
Shake. Here we go.
here we
Here we
go.
are.
This is number 9. Darren Jacobek, Bill St. Cyr, Dream Bros, talking about dreams, and the request to have more dreams brought in is what we're gonna try and stick to a little bit with the topic today, expanding on feelings and dreams and a few specific dreams, and jump around talking about feelings a bit in dreams. And should I start with a dream, or do you want to say
Yeah,
hello?
let's go right in. Hi from Maine. Hi from the east coast of the continent. It's always
Right. And
good.
I'm on Vancouver Island in Canada. And yeah, we talk about dreams because they've changed our lives, and we've seen dreams change other people's lives, and we're passionate about it. Hence this link.
Yeah, let's go right in. That sounds great.
So, dream that somebody told me. This was a very vivid dream, and it occurred 3 days before a 2-day wellness ceremony that they were going to. This person's a bit of a seeker. They were going to ceremonies, and they were told that's often when the work begins. And so the dream is, I was in a cabin with a trusted friend who's kind of a male searcher healer sort of a person. So he's in this cabin with this friend, adult. Both of us are having trouble sleeping. We chatted about the start of the upcoming ceremony, so it seems to overlap with the outer world. The sky is a beautiful purple, so suddenly I guess he's outside. The sky is a beautiful purple. The moon is big and bright. It is setting. There's another trusted man sitting in an Adirondack type relaxed chair and watches this massive moon go down. Everyone's watching this moon go down, and the man in the chair claps. And he said it felt just to observe this felt kind of lighthearted, a little bit cheeky. And then that same friend, has ice skates on and comes over and stops and sprays the dreamer with some snow from the ice skates. It's similar to what you might do skiing or skating, and the feeling is cheeky and playful and not too seriously. And he used the words just move into it lightly, joyful. So the whole thing was rather peaceful. And that's the end of the dream there. My cat is wanting out. 1 second here.
Okay.
Here's Toots.
Hey, Toots.
Okay, let him out. So yeah, that's thoughts on that dream, Bill.
It's, I guess the first thought I want to say is it's always interesting for me, like the response that I have when I hear it out loud versus when I read it. Like my mind sometimes goes to, so I just like a quick thing, like I'd encourage people to read their dreams out loud or have someone else read your dream out loud because it's a very interesting experience. Because the thing when I heard it read out loud just now was like, I was really struck by the male presence. I think when I read it the first time, I was like really struck by this moment of the spray and the man in the chair clapping and the moon going down. But it's like right now, like, I just think, we did that video about gender a couple of weeks ago. And I think for a lot of people, it's unusual to have like this kind of trusted male presence in the dream, or in their lives. Obviously there's a relationship between the two, but that they describe it as a trusted friend, that they're having a trouble sleeping, and both of them are staying up talking about this thing. Like that's a very sweet, like feeling right there. Like we're talking about feelings, or even before the video, we were talking about experiences, like whatever that feeling is, like it's also like the whole experience of like being in this cabin, getting ready for this. I don't know if they're getting ready for the retreat. Oh yeah, even in the dream, they're talking about the start of the ceremony, and to have like a male companion with you in that preparation in the middle of the night where you're both up. that just in, I just want to say, like, that just in itself seems like it, I would like want to bring a lot of attention to, because it's kind of unusual, right? Like it's a kind of unusual thing in the world for people to have companions in general, particularly in a place, like middle of the night, prepping for something like that in and of itself can be a really kind of profound experience in my own experience working with people with their dreams. I don't know how that sits for you, but
Very
this
much
person.
so. Very much so. Like we go through the like working with a dream, just the disclaimer, go with best questions. What's the feeling? Where in your body do you feel that? Is that a familiar feeling? And is there some reason you might need to feel that in your world at this point in time? And presumably, like if one could drop into this feeling, the feeling is support or masculine support in this instance. And to support what you're saying, like what's not happening in the dream or what's happening in the dream, sometimes you can get lost in the symbols. But having worked with a lot of dreams, I'm with you. It's striking when there is support in the dream because a lot of people go through life with the perception of being unsupported or they're actually unsupported. So I often say, people, you can go through death, dismemberment, rape, and torture in the dream setting. As long as you're not alone, sometimes it feels less like a nightmare, which is, it's not for me to say that, but I can tell you as somebody you can get somebody through something, or they can face really difficult things when they know they're not alone, and where they know they're supported. And it's just support. In this dream, this dreamer has support. And it's amazing the number of times I've looked at the dream from the outside, and the person will be alone in the dream dealing with something difficult. And
Right.
I'll say, did you have to deal with difficult things alone in your life? Like, where's the support? So when this person has support, two masculine support people in their life, and as much as you go back to Jung and Freud, it's like, oh my goodness, on some extent, the classic Freudian get over your mother and father thing, it's just true. Like, what sort of masculine presence did this person have to get over, not have to get over? And however they've dealt with that, they now have a masculine presence in their world that's not their father. And Carl Jung went to the very spiritual. There's Christ and God and questions of that in a lot of his writings. But just that presence, if you say animus, it's amazing how getting somebody to acknowledge that, like you said, just acknowledge that and feel what it's like to be supported, can change the way you move forward in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even the fact that there's a second man there also, like, so this person is like a companion. I mean, I don't know what this person's association is with this person in the Adirondack chair. It's interesting. Some reason I associate Adirondack chairs with older people. I don't know if that would resonate for this person or not, but like, yeah, it just feels like there's a lot of male presence. And what would that be like? What is that like for that person? Is that a new experience? Did they have this with their father? Did they have this with brothers? Have they had it with other men in their lives? What is it like for them to be up in the middle of the night, to be with this kind of beautiful thing of the moon setting? And what's it like to be with the lightheartedness and cheekiness of that, And again, like we were talking before, like what's that entire experience like? Like, have they had that experience in their life, and what's it like to have that now? So there's the feeling, whatever feeling of support, however that sits in them somatically, and also just like, how is that to be in the world in this way? Like, they're prepping for this journey, and how many people have prepped for journeys without this kind of support, that had just like such a different kind of experience of like isolation, like you were referencing,
Yes.
whether it's about trauma or not. I mean, the other thing that's interesting about this dream is there's no reference to anything traumatic. It's all like this kind of idyllic And it sounds like even the moment with the spraying of the ice is like a playful, or at least they take it in this playful way. Like there's this moment of like, well, what is that? I'm not as much of a skater as you are. So you might have more experience with that sort of thing. But that can be kind of an edgy thing, for someone to come up and spray you with their skates. In my experience, it could be kind of an edgy thing, sort of almost like a domineering thing. It can be this like macho competition thing. But then, like, again, like you take this moment that could be like edgy, and he's able to move, even in the dream, to feel like he's moving with that light. Curious again of like how, so this is another question, like we're talking about like, well, what is some good questions? So another really good question is like, is this a new experience for you? Is this
Yes.
new for you to have this kind of support? Is it new for you? So it's like, what's the feeling of that moment, which they describe pretty well. There's like joy, lightness, don't take it too seriously. So there's all the feeling. And then the question is like, well, is that a new experience to be in that kind of a moment? If it resonates for them. So if it resonates for them that could be like an edgy moment, I mean, it's interesting. They commented on quite a bit. So maybe that would resonate for them. It's striking that they don't take it too seriously.
Right. It's which I see as an important, helpful way to move forward in the world. If you can be lighthearted and masculine, like somebody throws a snowball at you, or a number of people have gone to mistrust the masculine in the world and project that onto leaders, from fathers to political figures to any leader of any sort. And if you can't keep it a bit lighthearted or bring some humor into it, it's the sort of thing that leads you down conspiracy rabbit holes and that aloneness. So if you can take somebody throwing a snowball at you, which I'm comparing the two, it's like game on. The spray thing is game on. Can you put up with this? It's a bit of a insult, cheeky insult, and can you
He
take
does
that
say
person
cheeky.
down and throw some snow back at them and not lose yourself? Like if you don't seem like it's a power struggle, which a lot of people grew up with that. I mean, myself included, but many people, men and women, depending, it can be one gender or the other, that was more domineering or more made you feel that you couldn't be with humor or couldn't be with joking or couldn't be lighthearted, which can happen if you only really know oppression in this world. So I agree. It's striking that there's a lightheartedness and that the dreamer could take it as a playfulness in the moment. And one would hope that he would spray back at some point and you get that tit for tat and the whole thing can be a little bit funny. And that's a nicer place to live from, as opposed to assuming something is an aggression right off the bat, which a lot of people jump to that conclusion that it's going to be a fight. Or I think there's a Vanderkolk quote that people who've been abused are used to being like, they avoid conflict because they're used to being on the underside of conflict over and over and over. So it's just better not to go there. So this is a mild form of conflict being sprayed
Yeah.
with snow. It's like just a bit cheeky. Can you handle this? And if you can, well, we can move forward. And it's, yeah,
Yeah, I think contrasting those kinds of experiences can be really helpful. Like, kind of like, how is this experience compared to places where you did take it too seriously? And it can be a way to help a person somatically, like, learn to build that trust in themselves of like, oh, this is a place where I can actually learn to trust because it's different than these other places where I might have taken it, or maybe I didn't take it too seriously. Maybe places where I needed to take it seriously, or nobody took it too seriously, so I had to take it we learned to take it seriously in a way that's like we're again, it's the isolation thing, right? Like there's nobody there to protect us, so we carry all this fight energy or defensive energy, and it's like to kind of begin to notice of like, oh, this is a place where I don't have to carry that energy.
Yes. And there's sometimes other clues in the dream, like an Adirondack chair is a relaxing outdoor chair. Most young
Theoretically,
people
at
just don't
least.
sit in them because they're off doing other things. So probably by default, it's more older people that sit in them, but certainly anybody can sit in them. But it's a more relaxed place to be. And what is a moon setting? Um, it's interesting. I don't see moons prominent in a lot of people's dreams.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
actually
interesting.
did. I got a chance to ask this person a few. Did they have any association? They weren't. They did some skating. They weren't a hockey player, though. They weren't. They had no particular association with moons. I mean, not much that you would think of. For me, it's well, the moon sets, the sun comes up in a way, or like it's not. But I don't have much association. What's your moon association other than bigger than the Earth or something bigger?
And just the whole like nighttime world. So it's like the whole world of the unconscious in a way. Sometimes people have associations with the feminine. La Luna is kind of a classic feminine goddess, if you will, kind of feminine archetype. But for me, it's just like the nighttime realm, right? Like you're out there in the nighttime realm. And I've had a lot of people. It's always interesting to hear the different things that like we think of as common dreams or not common dreams, because I think of a lot of people as having moon dreams. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I think of it as something that people often have in their dreams. It's such a dream world. To me, it's like moons in dream world and nighttime and the beautiful purple sky. It's pretty striking. Like the whole sky being this beautiful purple is also kind of striking. The moon big and bright, setting. It's interesting.
A bit otherworldly in a way, or unfamiliar. Like if something is very different than what you're used to, it's a different place, almost by like, are you in a different place? If this is unfamiliar settings and surroundings,
Right. Right.
it's like houses in a dream. Oh, I'm in a new apartment. I'm in a new house. I'm in a new, this one's under construction. This one, there's often, are you in a new place? Are you in a transient place? Are you
Or
in
are
a,
you in a cabin in the woods?
right.
I assume this is in the woods. I always associate cabin with woods. It doesn't say in the woods, but I assume it's cabin in the woods.
I assume so too, but yeah, the dreamer didn't say in particular. And then
Doesn't.
ice, where ice is, I mean, we said at its, I don't want to say worst. There's no good and bad per se, but it can be frozen feelings, and ice melting is melting feelings. I mean, certainly not always. There's no always in dreams, but it's what's under the ice is water. What's under, yeah, you can go. It's really that one's hard to go with, but there's people who are always on the ice. It seems, or always skiing, and they're not necessarily skiers, and it does make you question if it's a repetitive theme. Why is everything so frozen all the time?
Yeah,
Um,
or sometimes people have dreams where the ice is cracking, right? Like something's
Totally.
cracking open through the ice. And is that an association? Does it feel like something's cracking through the ice, or does it feel like it's all frozen? I mean, those are all ways to talk about the symbols in sort of like a somatic way of like, what is your association with that? Do you feel frozen? Does that person feel frozen in the dream, or does it feel like something's melting or cracking? I mean, it's interesting in this dream because there's like playfulness around the shaving of the ice, I guess.
hmm Taking away a layer of ice in a way. Yeah.
Yeah. To see what the person associates with all of that or what opens up for them touching into these places.
Yes. So this person did say it felt like this dream helped them. There's a good quote they said, because I've been to a number of ceremonies or retreats, wellness sort of retreats, and he said, you go into this thinking this is hard work. And for someone who's the prior dreamer who'd been into like a silent meditation retreat for 2 weeks. Like you go into it thinking this is going to be hard work, or how do you bring the energy of, okay, it might be hard work, but hard work can be very rewarding, and can you be supported in that hard work? So this dreamer said, going into those ceremonies 3 days later, um, the energy from this dream helped ground them when indeed they did deal with what they felt to be some very difficult subject matter came up for them in the ceremonies, and this
Wow.
carried them through. Like there was a spider that was coming, and they were able to stay grounded when they saw that, and there was they'd mentioned some reflection on some father issues too,
Wow.
which was in keeping with um in keeping with the masculine, just father not being as supportive as they'd wanted in their ideal world to sum things up. I don't know a lot of details, but um yeah. So that's how, even in this podcast or this YouTube, trying to say why do we do this? Because a dream can help you move forward in a way that you can face things and be more functional and thrive in a much better way if you are willing to pay attention. And even if you don't pay attention, sometimes the fact that you're dreaming, it can help prepare the body in a way. But there's like a level of resonance to have the dream, another level to write it down, another one to share it or read it out, another one to actually work it with somebody, and then you feel the somatic bodily, so it can really shift you. But just having the dream, or those people that say they don't dream, or they'll drink to avoid dreams, or take these drugs to avoid their dreams, and eventually that I'd suggest that catches up with you, as dreams are one of the very key ways that you process feelings and process emotions going forward.
Have you had, is that a common thing for you as an anesthesiologist? To have people come for meds for nightmares, I presume, which I
No,
mean,
not
what they
not
would
in
call
that
nightmares.
not in my anesthesia capacity. I mean, they will talk a bit about their sleep, but in my emergency room doctor capacity, and back when I was practicing family medicine in the clinic as a general practitioner, certainly it's an issue. And then talking about dreams early on, I did a community event around insomnia with somebody else, and there was a quite a good turnout. And the number of people who um, couldn't sleep or perceived they couldn't sleep and talked about they weren't, and getting rid of these problematic dreams was this little side topic of one of
Yeah.
them. So
Yeah.
a number of people take some form of sleeping pill, and
Yeah.
a certain percentage of those, it's to take away the dreams, for sure, for sure, for sure. Some of them it's not, and some of them they can't turn off their head, like related to our last podcast, that their brain just keeps thinking, and they find if they take the sleeping pill, they can turn their head off, turn that thinking part off. But a certain percentage, it's they're disturbed by dreams or nightmares, and they want those to go away. And it will for a period of time, but almost always it stops working in my experience. The medication or the format of whatever it is they're doing. And they'll need to do something a little more ceremony like, or self reflective, to truly make it go away, in my experience.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
I think it's helpful to talk to people about it and just let them know that there is a way out, like it's not necessarily turning the switch off, but like with some support. Again, if you break the isolation and people know that there's a way to be with some of the feelings that might be coming up in some of those dreams, not always, but sometimes that'll really help the pattern. I mean, we had someone come to a retreat years ago that had a recurring nightmare for years, and we worked the dream with them, and like that night was like the first night that they had like not had this recurring nightmare, and like the first time they had a different dream, first time they slept. So I don't want to say that to like offer miracle cures, but it's more like to just, a lot of people don't realize that if they get help, and particularly with recurring dreams, it doesn't occur to people that like it's recurring because there's something in your psyche that needs attention. And I say that with a lot of love for material that can be really, really difficult to be with. A lot of tenderness, like I understand why people want to get out of it. But sometimes the best way to get out of it is to have a little bit of support to kind of like relieve some of the charge around it so that it doesn't get channeled into the way nightmares play out for us, which just kind of keeps the whole cycle going, right? It really is almost like kind of a re-traumatizing event when particularly if you have a recurring night.
Very much so. I couldn't agree with you more. That usually one session and that dream will shift. Often, oftentimes it won't go away completely, but it'll shift into something different. But a lot of times it does go away completely. And just that vulnerability of offering, of not being alone with it and sharing it, something shifts. Yeah, they don't know. And it's scary. It's terrifying for the
Yeah.
person to think, well, because they assume that they have to go into that abyss that they perceive, that darkness or whatever, that it's going to be intolerable. They think you need to be led there, but oftentimes they just need to expose it or bring it to light, as it were, by talking about it. And yeah, it does seem rather miraculous at times that we don't do very much other than be supportive, and
Yeah.
which is a big thing. And I think there's a lot of people that don't know how to be supportive, or don't know how to be with their own feelings, or don't know how to not just interpret the dream. And if you don't, because it's easy to put a label on it and think you're done with it, but there's a million ways of working with dreams, and supportive, I think most of us would agree, is by far the best way. Whichever way you work with it, just be supportive and
Well, it's
non-judgmental.
interesting. Yeah, it's interesting with this dream, like how much it ended up, what we're talking about without even really knowing this person, how much it overlapped with what came up for them at their ceremony.
Yes.
Like we have these dreams and they seem so random and they're not. Well, again, that's another thing that people just don't realize. Like, I understand the story of the dream may be odd from an outer world perspective, but there's a reason we're having the dream, and if you can make space for like to let go of sort of like the first layer of the story, that which might seem just like what is happening, like kind of like last week, the person with the head stuck in there, the person's head stuck in their neck, like if you can get beneath that layer of the story into like, well, what does that really mean for me? Or what, in this case, what does it really mean for me to be with these men? What's the feeling there? And also like, there's the experience piece. Like, well, what does that mean for me in my life? Is this a new experience for me? Is this something that's opening up for me? Which in a lot of ways can be really supportive and open up a lot to kind of like break those old patterns that we often, not just nightmares in our nighttime life, but these patterns in our lives that become nightmares for people where they kind of don't have the support to kind of grow in the way that they want to grow.
Yes. Support, trust, a bit of humor. A lot of people are stuck in a place where they truly don't feel supported. Even when there's support there, they don't know how to let it in because they've been betrayed, and they don't know. It takes a lot to trust that you're not going to get betrayed again. And it sounds crazy to say it's easier to stay in that place. That easier isn't the best choice of words, but it feels safer to the person to stay in the place of not trusting. So if this dreamer can feel into the trust that seems to be there, that can be life changing. And I do know somebody who recently had a dream that there was incredibly supportive figure that seemed to fit with the sort of person that might fit into their world, the way the support person showed up in the dream, just the way they were dressed, the way the man, you're like, it was the sort of person that they might actually trust. Um, but the person opened up, and I said, "Is that familiar?" And it's no, and they couldn't fathom letting that into their world. It came in their dream first. It's like they've had different dreams trying to show them that support's there, but there's somebody who's been hurt in the past by men in particular, and it's just too hard to go there. So and it's not for me to force them to go there, but we did have a good dialogue about how this person has trouble letting support in when it comes. And they owned that, like they offered that to me, which in itself is a big door opener. It's like, you're actually okay. You're actually where there is support, and you're turning it down. It's a big stage for a lot of people who have been hurt to know that there's support out there and actually admit it. Are you with me?
I am. I mean, I think the thing I would add is like to kind of play with the support on both sides. So there's like letting in the support, and it's also like for a lot of us, it's like, how do we let there be support for the place that feels like there's no support, or where literally there was no support, because it's not just a feeling. Going back to the experience word again, where it's like, how do you support the person to like move through whatever grief, whatever anger they may have, whatever fear they might have around all those places where there maybe not only wasn't support, but was a violation of support.
Mm-hmm.
So like, it's really important, I think, this is where I want to like expand out from like the feeling to also the experience. So like, it can be kind of a setup is just like, well, just feel the trust, which is great. If you can do that, then go for it. Like 1000% full speed ahead. But it's also like, okay, what if I do that practice and then I hit this wall? Then it's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, okay, the reason I'm hitting the wall. I'm not hitting the wall just because I'm like a bad person or I'm not trying hard enough. Because I know from my own experience that there were times where the harder I tried, the more I just hit the wall. It's like sometimes I need to take a breath and be with, okay, what is it about this experience, or what is it about learning to trust? What's happening for me that's making it hard for me to open to that? So I can kind of see it intellectually. I can use the word admit. I can kind of admit that there's trust here, but can I also just be with like whatever there is here that's like makes it hard for me to be with the trust? And it's really like this dance between like, so there's this feeling of trust, but then there's this experience where trust has been violated. And how do I learn to be with both of those things? Does that make sense?
It does. It's hard for the head to grasp it in a way, but yeah, it's being kind to the person and going slow, and it's hard to put to words.
Well, partly because this is a place where it does come back to the feeling. Like, I think it's scary. Like, I think the walls come up for a lot of us where the feeling's overwhelming, because it's like, it sounds so simple, right? Like, well, just open to the trust, right? Like, you want to trust, there's help here, there's support, just open to the trust. But what we don't realize, and what so many emotional and spiritual practices don't kind of acknowledge, is that when we open to the trust, it also opens us to not always, but often, particularly in the places where we hit a wall, it opens us to all the places where it was too scary to be with the trust in the past. So it's this weird thing where you almost have to take the support and bring it back to the place where the trust was broken. It's like, so can you trust that it's okay to be with the fear? Can you be with the fact that like a lot of this is scary? I mean, this dream doesn't seem very scary, but you can see when they went to the ceremony, it opened up material that for a lot of us would be scary. And like I was talking about that dream last week that I had, it's like, it's great to just be like, well, just be the boy in the water and everything's good. But I'm always going to jump out to that panic place until I can almost hold both places with love. So yeah, there's this opening, and then there's like this old pattern. And I mean, if you can leave that part of yourself behind, that's great. if those patterns can get left, but for most people, that's a process of like, how do I bring love to, like in my case, the part that was always caretaking? How do I bring some love to that, even though it's like kind of controlling part of who I am? But it's like, how do I bring love to like, well, that's how I learned to survive. That's how I learned to manage in this world. And can I learn to be with the feelings that are there? It's a practice of like, okay, I'm going to hit these places where it's too scary. And can I take a breath and be with one, take a break if I need to, if it's too much, and two, actually develop a capacity to be with these feelings that nobody teaches us how to do, really. Everybody
No,
has all these expressions of like, just feel the feeling or just go with the trust or just let go.
but it's
But
emotionally hard, and people
yeah,
don't like that.
it's a practice. It's people don't think of it as a practice. They don't think of it as a muscle that we all need to grow. You can't go from not knowing how to be with all your feelings to suddenly you're like a pro athlete at being with it all. It's like the step-by-step process
Yeah,
of
it's like
like,
when children tend to know how to feel, and when children show up in a dream,
right,
and how does the dreamer cope when a child? It's like one of the people I shared their dreams for a few years. It was only a few years before a child showed up, and to me that was striking. It's like that one of the many superpowers a child has in a dream is the ability to feel. And how does one respond to that child? And I've seen all sorts of mistreatment, including in one person's dream, the child was a girl showed up and they immediately slapped the girl in the dream, and I'm like, I just cringed. I tried not to show my cringing, but it's like, oh my goodness, is this your relationship to the inner part of you that could feel? Is this your relationship to the and other dreamers, it's like, okay, there's a child over there dancing. How close are they? They're way over there. How close are to the part of the you? Because we associate the difficult feelings and forget that you get along with the sorrow, you get the joy, along with the sadness, you get the happiness. And it comes as a package deal, which is why it's worthwhile getting in touch with your inner child, which it's a cliche counseling thing, but it actually shows up in images and dreams in a very tangible, real way. It's like,
right, right. Yeah, I think that's a great example in a way, because it also means getting in touch with like, well, where did you get slapped down? And
right, right,
so again, it's like this two-sided practice of like, how do I be with the child in a different way? How do I get back to the innocence of my own inner child? But you can see like, well, it's scary because most likely this person, if not literally got slapped in some way.
it might have literally, but for sure energetically, this person almost definitely got slapped. And uh, how do you ask those questions, or how do you, as gently as possible, if you're willing, it depends on your relationship to the person. But yeah, they can't unfeel that once they've said it out loud, for example. It's
Well, the problem for most people is they're going to feel shame about that, right? That they slapped the child in the dream. And then that just becomes more reason to bury the feelings,
yes.
as opposed to like, you know, can we be with the assumption anyway? It's an assumption for me, right or wrong. I find it to be true. So I'm staying with the assumption that people aren't born with that kind of slapping energy. That people
Uh,
only develop that kind of slapping energy when they're slapped in some way as a child. And I take out the literal thing because for a lot of people, they'll have a dream and there's not the literal experience. And so they'll kind of dismiss it. They'll be like, well, I was never slapped. Like, but then you'll get to know them, and it's like, well, then they'll talk about they tried to speak out and they got kind of shut down in some way, and you'll realize it's like, oh, the slapping might not have been literal, but they still got kind of metaphorically slapped.
right. Which is a hard thing, the literal metaphorical, like while doing this YouTube, this podcast, people will, the head wants literalness. It's like, but I was driving fast in the dream, but I don't drive fast. Well, can you see the metaphor? Can you, like, every single thing in a dream is more likely metaphor, and there might be some literalness and literal truths here and there, but it's far more likely to be metaphor. So how are you, like a car in a dream, can be autonomy, can be just moving fast through life, uh, can be, there's
If
more
you
like,
ask people, they always get it, right? Like if you
yes,
can get people to stop and take a breath and be like, okay, can we set the literal idea of driving aside? Because we know you don't drive fast. So we know it's not like your dream's not telling you to slow down or something in your car because you don't do that. So it's not an issue. So now it's like, well, what is that feeling or that energy of driving? Like, how are you holding the wheel? How much are you leaning forward? Like, and if you can get people to take a breath into that experience or that feeling, they'll almost always have an aha. It'll almost always be like, oh, you'll hear the moan or or they'll laugh, or they'll be like, oh. And then it's, what is that for them? How much of their life are they racing through in that way that they don't think about because they don't literally race through their life?
yes. And cars, it reminds me, there's one car dream, one car dream that I know that I'd love to share. It's a pretty short dream.
Okay.
It's from somebody I worked with, this dream. So this is in context. This person kind of will admit they like control in their life, and a car can be control. Like, to everything, there's a season. There's a time to drive, time to not drive, time to go on the bus, a time to drive the bus. But on some extent, you need some control in their world. But this person was often driving in their dream, and this time there was a trusted male figure to go with the trusted, like, this person was probably hurt by both masculine and feminine figures in their world, but there was a really trusted masculine figure in the driver's seat, and the person's in the passenger seat, and they pull over, and, like, this person felt like so trusted, incredibly. This person had a Christian background. It was like almost a Christ-like figure. It's like, just, they said it was almost, but, like, it's just like, wow, this presence is positive. Um, so they both get out of the car, and they're standing by a river, and so in a way, the person has, like, pulled over their their metaphorical car of life. They're standing by the river, and he suddenly hip checks the dreamer into the river, and the and I it's hard for me not to laugh, because it's like this very almost Buddhist go with the flow, and extremely intentional. And the person is just absolutely incensed. It's like, why would they do this? Why would they bump me into the river? And it was of trying to be as kind as I can. It's like, it's just it's a very go with the flow versus very metaphorical for me, that this part of, like, what does that even mean? Where do dreams come from? But can you get out of the literalness, since this has never happened to this person in the world, and think, wow, there's so much there. We could talk about this dream for a long time as well, but the flow, the feelings, away from the control, away from the driving, and it took some other presence, trusted presence, to do that for this person. And it was kind of mind blowing for this person to have this dream, and to go through the anger of being taken out of the control position of the car. Cars aren't always control. Like, sometimes you need to drive, as said, but sometimes they're disproportionately control, for sure. Um, yeah, symbols, trusted figures, and yeah, do you trust that figure? And we could talk about this dream for a long time. Thoughts, Bill?
I mean, how was that for them? Like, were they able to move through it? Were they able to like be in the river? Were they like, how
No,
was it for them?
no, it was distressing. They were angry. I mean, they were, but not in a what's going on sort of way, which is kind of getting out of the head. Because when you stop control, like, what the heck is going on was the major feeling, which is certainly common for academic people, common for me. If you're somebody who really has to think your way through the world, to think that you don't know or to get out of your head is a challenge. And once again, that's really hard to put to words pretty much by definition because it doesn't fit words well. It's like you're no longer in control, and your emotions, your feelings, your intuition can be in control. But if you're the sort of person that likes to control things as you go forward, that's very hard to be with and beyond words. So if I could support them in those moments as best I can, uh, dreams constantly do this. That's definitely a theme of a lot of people's dreams I've noticed is can you get out of your control state and go with the flow a bit more? And this dream is just very obvious in that direction as one possibility.
I mean, I guess I would have a question, just like for how, like, why that's, what's their experience there that makes that such a challenge?
Yes.
Because the flip side of the metaphor is, have you ever been like kind of thrown in over your head by a trusted spiritual figure, if you will, or somebody
Right.
that
There's
felt trusted? So
there's always an edge. You're right. You're absolutely right. And all of those things would be true. And this person had to control for very good reasons in their life, from childhood on up to spiritual on up. And um, doesn't, I think I disproportionately see people having issues with their spiritual place in the church, in the world, and trying to reconcile that. And it's unfortunate that there's a lot of examples of people feeling betrayed in church settings or feeling like they're not supported in church settings. It's unfortunately more common of a theme, and maybe we just disproportionate. I get disproportionate dreamers, people coming to me with dreams that have gone through that. Yeah, but this person,
you're
yeah, for
you're
very
talking
good reason.
you're talking to a Catholic boy from Boston, so it was the heart of the Catholic Church scandal, or the beginning of the Catholic Church abuse scandal. So it's common. It's common. It's unfortunately common.
Feel like needing a moment of silence after that. It's like there's just disturbingly common. Yeah.
I think the thing that's important about it is that, like, when we're able to hold that in consciousness, the dreams also become much more understandable, or our resistance. So if we set that up the way that you're talking about, like, even if the person wants to let go and be able to be in the flow the way that you're talking about it, it's like when we understand what people have been through and we don't gaslight them about that, we just accept it. It's just like, it's an all too common truth. Then it makes some space for them to rebuild that trust.
Yes.
And then it just becomes a practice of, like, being with, like, the places that, like, I mean, think of how sad that is, unfortunately, that, like, my association with being in the flow is some place where I get kind of forced into it. And then it's kind of not the flow, really, because when there's that force to it, it's not really flow. But if that's my association with it, again, this is where the fear comes in, right? Like, it's a huge thing to begin to turn that around and be like, oh, there's a whole other way of being in the world rather than needing to force it. Rather than need to control my ability. Now I have to control the fact that I'm a controlling person. I have to stop it in a controlling way, but instead to be like, and this is what kills me, I guess, in the Christian tradition. Like, to me, the heart of the Christian tradition is you love the person in that moment. Like, the whole point of Christianity, to me, the more positive side of the story is that, like, there's love there for us in the places that we don't know how to let go of control. So when the violation happens within Christianity or within therapy or within these places where are meant to actually teach us to be in the flow. Like if Christianity isn't about being in the flow, if religion isn't about being in God's flow and God's love, then what's the point of it all? But if that's the place where we get hurt, that's a bit of a double whammy for people. Then the whole idea of being in the flow, or in this case, the idea of being in God's love, becomes kind of contaminated. It's like, no, I'm not going there again.
Yeah. Yeah. I did talk to a dreamer who went to a healing retreat, but that was in a church basement. And this person grew up in the church, and it was actually like a multidisciplinary, not classic Christian healing, not with a priest or a pastor in the traditional sense. And they found this cognitive dissonance, this real difficult place. I actually got some healing in a church that had nothing to do with a sermon or sitting in a pew, and was done completely differently than their traditional experience of church. Um, it was very
probably
mind
a
blowing.
lot, probably a lot closer to what early Christianity was about. People gathering in basements, doing healing work, finding God in other ways, finding a direct relationship with God. Like it's probably much closer to that tradition of Christianity than what we think of as Christianity today.
Yeah.
One of the most powerful dreams I ever worked with was a church dream for me, where I was like up on the altar, and the person that I was working with, God bless him, said, "Well, what if you're meant to give this sermon?" I was like, "What?" It was like, what is such a completely foreign concept for me at the moment, that like I had something to teach or that I had something to offer. Like for me, church was always about like someone else knowing something. The idea that this space on the altar for all of us to teach, for all of our lives to be something that's an offering, a teaching for everybody, was like an incredibly radical. I still struggle with that. Like I can say the dream, but inside myself, I'm cringing.
Yeah. How do we hold the energy to, yeah, to speak? Yeah. It's easy
Yeah.
to throw stones at somebody else speaking wrong, but how do we hold the energy to speak ourselves? Yeah. Well, this is an awkward podcast, Bill. Learning to speak, because it feels like that's what partly I'm doing here. I
I love
appreciate the
that.
space.
I love that. I feel like we get to be transparent about what we're learning, so then it becomes more of a conversation. Like we're
Mhm.
not like priests, or we're like some therapist out there, like in some traditional way that's like, we have the answer for you. It's more like we're learning how to do this with each other, with other people, and we all get to be part of that community. So I love the awkwardness, even though it's very uncomfortable for me also.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
love it. I think it's a good part of the practice.
It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to not know. Funny that. Yeah.
It's uncomfortable to start getting inklings also of knowing. It's
Yeah.
also super uncomfortable. It's all uncomfortable, Jake.
True, Bill.
Uh,
So what do you think? Time to wrap this one up?
I think this is a great place to wind down.
Perfect.
For anyone listening, you've made it this far, we would really appreciate, if you will make a like or drop a comment or subscribe. That helps us out with the whole algorithm of the podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you're listening or watching. So thank you for that. And yeah, you have dreams to send us, let's keep the conversation going. Or you have any questions about this, just let us know.
Wonderful.
Thanks, Jake. Good to be with you.
Thanks, Bill.